Miles pulled on his chinos and sweatshirt. The sweatshirt was dark gray, with "The Inn at Hemlock Falls" on the front in small silver letters. Quill had let Harvey Bozell, president of Hemlock Falls' best and only advertising agency, talk her into buying promotional items. The inn was littered with hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, and tote bags, all dark gray with silver letters proclaiming the existence of the place, even though Quill thought it would be very hard for anyone to ignore the existence of a 40,000-square-foot mansion sprawling on the lip of Hemlock Gorge. She joined Miles at the window. Her suite of rooms was at the back of the inn, overlooking the vegetable garden where her sister Meg grew peppers, tomatoes, dill, parsley, and goodness knew what else, so that she could provide their guests with the best food within 300 miles of the village. Beyond the gardens was a thick stand of trees, and beyond that, a dull orange glow that looked like sunrise. It was August, and the window was open to the warm night. A scent of burning wood drifted through the air. Burning wood and something else. She glanced at the clock on the bedside table. "It's 4 o'clock," she said. "In the morning." Miles kissed the top of her head. "So it is." He sat on the edge of the bed and pulled on his shoes. Quill yawned, then moved to her dresser and fumbled through the drawers for a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. "No need to get up," he said. "Go back to sleep." Quill tugged her jeans over her hips and yawned again. "I'll make coffee and bring it out to wherever it is." She blinked. "As a matter of fact, where is it? The only thing in back of those trees is the old MacAvoy barn, and that's been falling down for years." She pulled her t-shirt over her head. "I heard MacAvoy sold it. Is that true?" The phone rang, and she jumped at the sudden noise. Miles picked it up. From his side of the conversation, Quill guessed it was Davy Kittermeister, Miles's deputy sheriff when Miles was in town, and sheriff de facto when he wasn't. Miles hung up, pulled open the nightstand drawer, removed his shoulder holster and gun, and put it on. "Hey," Quill said, alarmed. "What's that for? What's going on?" She shoved her feet into her sandals. "I'm going with you." He shrugged into his jacket. "No," Miles said. "What do you mean, no?" Quill said indignantly. "You don't take your gun unless there's a problem, and if there's a problem—" "It's not a matter for civilians." Miles kissed her again and headed out of the bedroom. Quill hurried after him. She caught up with him at the front door. "It is really rotten of you just to take off and leave me to wring my hands and wonder if you're going to come home flat on a barn door carried by grieving deputies." He laughed at that. When Miles laughed, his face softened and caught at her heart. He was 52 to Quill's 36, and a hard life in law enforcement had left its mark. Quill had met very few cops in her life, but those she had met were alike in their detachment and their emotional reserve. She and Miles had come a long way together, and she valued the reserve more often than not. But there had been times when that hadn't been true. "If it's the MacAvoy barn, did Davy say it was the MacAvoy barn? There's nothing out there but trees and woodchucks." The phone rang again. Quill reached over the kitchen counter to the wall phone, and Miles walked out the door before she could pester him for an answer. "Rats," Quill said into the phone. "Rats to you too," her sister said. "Is Miles there?" "Meg, what are you doing up? Are you here?" Quill stretched the phone to the farthest link of the cord, opened the front door, and peered into the hall. Meg's small apartment was across the hall from hers, but Meg was rarely there. She spent most of the time at Andy Bishop's, and of course, after next week, Meg wasn't going to be there at all. Quill bit her lip. "If I were there, I could walk across the hall instead of calling you," Meg pointed out. "I'm with Andy. Except I'm not with Andy because Davy Kittermeister called a few seconds ago and said there was a body in the MacAvoy barn, and the MacAvoy barn was burning down to the ground. So Andy grabbed his bag and left. Is Miles there?" A loud beep sounded on the line. "Just a second, Maggie." Quill tapped the phone button twice to take the waiting call and said hello. "Miles there?" a cross elderly voice demanded. Quill closed the front door, walked back to her small kitchen.